Now, I'll get my cup out of your way.
My name's Ezra. I'm an addict visiting from Orlando, Florida. Thank you for having me. So there's not enough time in the world to describe how much I love and value Michelle, but I was told I need to keep it under half an hour because y'all are here to hear Michelle, not hear about her. Michelle is a perfect example of the theme of this convention, love and gratitude in action. She shows her love in personal recovery and connections, and she demonstrates gratitude by doing service work. She doesn't just talk about these spiritual principles, she acts on them. Michelle and I met doing regional service, and that became the foundation of our friendship. Michelle brings a passionate energy to service and a solution-oriented attitude to help suffering addicts. She is what I like to call the humble workhorse of the Florida region's RSC. She has served multiple positions there, where currently she's the facilitator of the Florida region. But there was a time where Michelle and I got to serve directly together as IT technology resource coordinator and alternate. Those are some of my favorite memories with Michelle, whether it be the breakfast buffets that we'd have in the hotel as we got ready for a day's worth of service, or some of the big events that we got to do together, such as organizing the logistics and management for a completely virtual service symposium known as Florida Service Symposium 9 in 2021. And in 2022, our region actually shipped us up to Atlanta to coordinate the IT for a hybrid car and cat workshop for multiple zones, which was pretty amazing. Michelle's a great example of a recovering addict. She struggles because, like all of us, she's not perfect, but she uses that pain to learn lessons and turn them into opportunities to work on herself. And through the process, and when she comes out the other side, she shares about what she's learned with others like myself. She's a sister to me. She's always been there when I need her. She's my best friend and the core of my support network. She is my closest confidant, things that I'm too embarrassed to talk to my wife or my sponsor about even. I feel safe talking to Michelle about. But I will shut up, and I'm excited to hear what she's going to share with you. So I give you Michelle.
Oh my God, everything makes noise. I'm sorry, gotta situate myself. I'm Michelle, I'm an addict. I wonder how much of that he had ChatGPT, right? I love my friend, but I also know my friend. Okay, let me start my timer. Are we still good at an hour? Scott? Somebody? Okay. So first off, and I, not to belabor, but it's always worth, thank you. Thank you guys that have done all the work here. Thank you for inviting me to come out to this. And thank you for all the people who've done service. Mike last night, the speaker, was amazing. The workshop speakers, they've all been amazing. I've gotten so much out of this weekend. So, love and gratitude in action. I love that. That's right here, right now, right? Like, that's what all of us are doing just by being here. This is our love and our gratitude in action. I'm going to just do my story in a linear fashion. I know some people jump all around and can do that. I can't. I will get confused and I'll forget where I'm at. So, I grew up middle class, I had good parents. I didn't have any abuse. I had a pretty healthy, happy childhood. Like, I rode horses. I was a smart kid, all those things. And I say that only to, some people I know have had horrible life, horrible, traumatic childhood, abuse, all that stuff. And some of us don't. It's not a prerequisite. We don't have to have that stuff to qualify as an addict. So when I look back in my life, I can see the threads of addiction, of being an addict all the way through to my childhood. Just these different quirks. And so I have this story. My friends call it the mermaid story, but I think I was about 8, and my mom had a friend over, a mom friend. They were doing adult, whatever, drinking wine or whatever, I don't know. And she brought her daughter over, and the daughter was hanging out with me, and we were playing in my room. And she had brought all these little mermaid dolls, these little figurines, and I thought they were beautiful. She had, I don't know, maybe 12 of them. They were all different colors with different color hair and different color tails. And we were sitting there playing, and the whole time we're playing, I am scheming which one I'm gonna steal. And I'm looking at each one, and we're playing, and I am plotting the whole time. So I settled on, I don't remember. I want to say it was like the one with dark purple hair and a light purple tail. I don't know. But I had planned this all out. So we're like sitting on the floor playing, and I had like my day bed with a trundle bed underneath with like the bed skirt and all that. And so while we're playing, I'm strategically accidentally bumping the one that I want, like closer and closer to like under the edge of the bed, until finally like I bump that one under. I'm like, yes, got it. So we keep playing and all that, and then her mom comes in, it's time to go, and so she packs up all, and she didn't notice that one was missing. And she packs them all up, and she left, and, I walked him out to the door, bye, and all that, and I ran back to my room, and I jumped into the bed, and I grabbed it, and I pulled it out, and I held it up, and I was like, fuck, I should have done the one with red hair, and, because that's that shit, right? Like, we're never satisfied with what. So, I grew up in, I think, this very, what is typical addict fashion of like, I saw the differences between myself and everybody else. So I was born in Oslo, in Norway. So I was born in Oslo, Norway. And my parents, when I was 5, decided to move us to Polk County in the middle of Florida. It's like, somebody's raising their hand. Somebody knows what's up. Okay, Polk County was once upon a time, it was like meth capital of the world. And it just, so there were all these things that, I looked at everything that was different. And we grew up, and my parents are not religious, and we were in the Bible Belt, and all these different things of how I'm different from everybody else. I mean, my parents did IT stuff growing up, so we never had AOL. They did DSL with back when that was a thing, with Netscape. And so all my friends had instant messenger, and they were all chatting away, and I didn't, because my family was like, no, we don't need AOL. That's for people who don't know what they're doing. And and all these things. I just wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be, so I judged my insides by everybody else's outsides, And all I could see was the chaos inside me, and how all you guys look fine. So I assumed you felt fine too. And that I was the only one struggling, So, growing up, I decided to just lean into it. The terminally hip and fatally cool, and if I can't fit into the box that you guys have all made, then fuck all you guys, and I don't want to be a part of it anyway, and all these things that I told myself to be okay with the fact that I felt different than everybody else. And I used everything I could to escape, drugs. As I got older, sleeping around, shopping, shoplifting, reading. So you guys remember, I don't know if they still exist because I haven't looked for them, but remember those like celebrity gossip magazines? Like Star Magazine was one. And I remember I would like get those and I would just lay on my bed and I would read them and I would just like lay there and imagine that was my life. Just anything I could to not be me. So I started using, and it went like it always does. And but I had all the excuses in the world of why what I was doing was okay. The first time I got arrested, I think I just turned 18. It was for a possession charge. Well, I'd been arrested a few times, like younger, for shoplifting, but the first time real arrested. And so they took me to the jail, and like the officer told me, because I was like 18 years old, and I had this like gray and pink striped polo shirt on with my little white belt and my ballet slippers, and I had this like pink bow in my hair. And the officer told me, like, ma'am, you need to take the bow out of your hair. So I just, I felt like I didn't belong there, and I just kind of laughed it off, and wrong place, wrong time, and that was silly. And as it started to get worse and worse, I had all the excuses in the book that, like, everybody just needs to back off. You guys are the ones with the problem. Mom, you have a problem. My probation officer has a problem. My friends, they all have the problem. I don't. If you guys would just chill the fuck out, we'd all be okay. Because y'all are the only ones panicking about what I'm doing right now. I'm fine. And I looked at these things, this idea of like what an addict is, and it wasn't me. Like, I still had a car because my mom was dumb enough to co-sign on it, and she would make the payments when I didn't. I still had a place to live. Like, I had these, and because I had this idea in my head that like an addict is somebody who lives under a bridge, has all their belongings in a shopping cart, needs to shoot up every day just to find, and that wasn't me. I didn't look like that. So I rode that for a long time. And there were good times in that too. Like, we know this shit. Like, we didn't get high because it sucked. We got high because it was fun. It was a party, and for a long time it was a party. I had my friends. I was young. We were at that age, and that was one of my excuses too. I'm college age, of course. And so I had all that, but then it starts turning on us, and it did, and it started turning into a nightmare. And I remember standing in the mirror, and I was getting ready to go out for the night, and I kind of pep talked myself, all right, we're not going to get crazy tonight. We're going to go, we're going to hang out with our friends. As soon as, your tip money is gone, you're going to leave, and you're not going to spend anything that's in your account, all these different things. And none of it worked. These little rules that we set up for ourselves, and, to try and fix, manage, and control, and, to do all this stuff. And it wasn't working. And my life just became this, blur of blackouts and other people's beds and ODs and self-harm, and I was Baker acted, and my mom crying, like that. And mostly what started to happen is, and I know you guys know this, is that fear. I was scared of myself. I was scared of what I was capable of doing, so I was starting to see it. And I didn't understand it either, because I knew deep down, what the fuck? I know I'm not a terrible person. I'm not a horrible person. I'm not trying to be horrible, but I don't know how to stop doing horrible things and being horrible to the people I love and to myself. I don't know how to stop hurting people. So I was going to jail because I kept violating my probation over and over again. I remember my mom had said to me, one of the last times I called her from jail, and she said, I have no more tears left to cry for you. And I was like, ooh. I knew I fucked up then. And so, the last time I went to jail, they'd pick me up for a violation of my probation. And they always picked you really early. I don't know why, it's terrible. And they picked me up, and we were driving from like to where the courthouse was, wherever I was to the courthouse. And I remember we were stopped at this red light, and it was like 8 in the morning or something like that. And there were people out there standing outside their cars, like at a gas station. They were filling gas. They had like their business casual clothes on and their coffee cups sitting on top of their car. Like, I don't know, man. Just living life successfully. And I'm sitting, and I remember sitting in the back of that cop car, just looking out the window at them and just wondering, like, how come they get that and I don't? Like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I have that life? Why is my life this? Sitting on, in this hard seat in a cop car. And like, as much as I pretended like I didn't want that life because I felt like I couldn't ever get it, so I just pretend, but I desperately wanted it. I wanted peace. I wanted to stop hurting. I wanted that stuff, but I couldn't figure out how to bridge that gap between where I was in that cop car and where they were just living their happy little lives, I didn't know how to cross that distance, how to make it happen. And it's not because like I didn't want to. Every time I left jail, and I'd swear this time is going to be different and I'm going to be good and all this, I really, really fucking believed it. I did want to do that. I just didn't know how. So the last time the judge gave me an option of a year and a day in prison or 6 months at a treatment center. And I was like, well, 6 months is a lot shorter than a year. So let's do that one. But at first, because I was in jail, and of course, any of you guys that have been to jail may know this, but like, you have a whole bunch of legal experts in the cell with you, all giving you like some really solid advice of what to do. And these women were like, girl, just do your time, just go do it. Don't even mess with the place that I was gonna go and all this stuff. And so I'd originally gone in front of the judge ready to do the year and a day. And he started talking about different stipulations because I had adjudication withheld and then I'd be convicted and this and that. And he said something about my license. And I kind of freaked because I had a very important job as a pizza delivery person. And I was like, well, if something happens to my license, what am I going to do when I get out, So I kind of started like, wait, I'm sorry, what was that, Judge? And he could tell that, and he was like, you know what? I think you need a little bit more time to think about this. And he sent me back. And the bailiff walked me to the back where they put you in the cage behind the courtroom. And she looked at me and she goes, baby, you cannot do prison. And it was in that moment I looked at her, I said, oh my God, you're right. Can I go back out there? She's like, no, honey, you gotta wait. So thank goodness for these little moments and these, of just these little times that stick out where somebody said something. And I had this glimmer of like, oh, okay, So I went to this treatment place, and that's where I was introduced to Narcotics Anonymous. H and I brought in a meeting there, and yeah, H and I. And I'm so grateful. I was 22 years old. And when Mike shared last night that he was 22 and he got clean, I was like, me too! It was this moment where the light bulb went off, where like I realized I'm not a bad person who needs to be good. I'm a sick person who needs to get well. Like for the first time ever, this fucking problem that I had that was me, that I didn't know how to solve, that bridging that gap, like finally I had a reason, like I had a name to it. I'm an addict. And like for the first time, because I had a name to it, I could see a solution and I had hope. And you guys gave me that we have the, the basic text and all our literature and everything Narcotics Anonymous has set up is like the blueprint. It's like the fucking user manual that everybody else seemed to be born with except me, like it spoke my language. And I heard somebody share in a meeting one time that, like, I guess if you're in war or whatever, and you surrender, what they tell you is you put down your weapons, you put your hands up in the air, and you do exactly as you're told. And that's what you guys taught me to do in the beginning. So I got clean. I was 22 years old. I got out of the treatment center. I did what I was told. I went to a halfway house. I moved out of there to this tiny little mother-in-law cottage downtown. It was all mine. It was all mine. Because one of the things one of the counselors had taught us, because it was a place of all women, and she said, if you guys do anything, she was like, go live on your own for a year so that you can do it. And I did that. Because I learned, you guys taught me, stop trying to run on my own self-will, like my best thinking got me here, all these different things. And so one of the things that I struggled with was the God word. And I know that's a big one for a lot of us. I grew up, both my parents are atheist. We're not a religious household. And I got into that treatment place, and they had the 12 steps up on the wall. And I was like, okay, nope. Nope. And I tried really hard because I was so desperate. I wanted what you guys had so bad that I was like, all right, let's roll with it. Let's act as if, and let's try and believe in a God, like this sort of thing. And I think I was about 3 years clean when I called my sponsor at the time. And so this sponsor later on went on to like join a convent. So if that kind of gives you any idea of where she was spiritually. I called her and I said, Grace, I don't think I believe in God. And she took a second, she took a breath, and she goes, okay, let's find what works for you. I love that. I love that about Narcotics Anonymous, that we have the freedom to go with whatever works for us, And so for me, my higher power is the program. It's the program of Narcotics Anonymous. My prayer is when I share at a meeting. That's how I pray. And my meditation is when I listen to you guys, I do my step work, I talk to my support group, and then I take some time in whatever way I need to process those things. It took a long time for me to get there. What does this look like for me as an atheist? And I think I've gotten there. So I wanted to say that as well, because atheists do recover. One of the things that Ezra had mentioned was service. Service has played a huge role in my recovery. Love and gratitude and action, right? And one of the things, I heard this one time, service, it looks like work, but it feels like love. And I love that because it's so true. Service has been a way for me to expand my world past just me and just my recovery. And so, okay, this is my little soapbox for just a second, maybe a few more than a second. But okay, so I know a lot of people, I hear it all the time say, well, I don't want to get into service because I don't like the politics. I don't want to be a part of the politics. But the truth is politics is just how a body of people govern themselves. That's it. It's not inherently good or bad. It's what we put into it and what we take out of it. So yeah, there's bad politics in it and there's good politics too. But this is how I learned how to prepare for the real world, man. I'm gonna have a boss that's a fucking asshole. And I'm gonna have to deal with coworkers and all that stuff. Service and Narcotics Anonymous has taught me how to deal with that stuff, how to deal with myself in that stuff. And what I've learned too is that everybody that's in service is doing what they believe is best for Narcotics Anonymous. And if I remember that when I'm annoyed or they're annoyed with me, we'll be all right. That we're all just here trying to do the best we can. And I think almost all of us here been touched by a byproduct of service, whether we got in through H&I, or it was a poster somewhere put up by PR, or they called a helpline, or a spouse called a helpline, whatever it is. Like, so I did H&I when I first got clean, because H&I was, what was brought in where I was, to the treatment center. And I remember there was this woman that came in to the treatment center I was at, and she was young like me, and she talked about going to concerts and going to them clean and staying clean. And I just was like, I like her. I bet we could be friends, And so like when I got out of the treatment center, I joined H&I and I started going back to the same facility, and her and I did become friends. We started carpooling together. She became one of my best friends in recovery for a long time. And it was where I was able to sort of make those bonds with other people. And it's where I learned to examine my own recovery and learned to start speaking my truth. There's a line in the Living Clean about spiritual awakenings. And it says, if we are not carrying the message, we go to sleep again. And that's, H&I gave me the chance to do that. And then I met a man in recovery, and we got together, and I got pregnant and had 2 twins. It was chaos. They're amazing. But I was a stay-at-home mom, and all of a sudden my life was chaos, trying to manage 2 babies at one time when I could barely manage myself. So I did Helpline, because I was able to do that from home. And one of the things that I learned, anybody that's been on Helpline knows that the majority of calls that come in are from wives and mothers, wives and mothers. And so I got to basically make an indirect amends to my mom over and over and over again every time somebody called, and that was huge for me. I was GSR, my home group. I got to learn some of the inner workings. I got to go to area, which I'd kind of avoided area for 7 years, just because I didn't know what I was missing out on, to be honest. I didn't know how much fun it was going to be, and I was going to enjoy really getting into learning about Narcotics Anonymous, all this stuff. So I did that. I did PR. And I remember just learning that nobody can get recovery if they can't find us, because you always get the people, it's attraction rather than promotion, and all this stuff, but nobody can get recovery if they can't find us. I remember we went to this probation office in this city called Sebring, and we went and did a presentation to their probation officers there, and they had never heard of Narcotics Anonymous before us. And I just think about all the offenders that have gone through that probation office and were never told about Narcotics Anonymous until we got there, So then I started regional service, and that's where I found that's where my heart is. That's where I found this family, this new family, and where I got to grow up. That's where service positions, sometimes you cry over them and shit, at least for me. Doing that IT thing with Ezra, that was amazing. But there was this time when it was actually the Atlanta trip, or maybe it was something else. And I was on a Zoom call with a bunch of people, and we're planning. And I was the main IT person. And everybody was directing their questions at Ezra, who was the previous one, and nothing to me. And I remember it's that imposter syndrome and not feeling good enough and all these things. And I ended up turning off my camera because I was crying. Because I just felt why am I even fucking here? They don't even want to hear from me, and blah, 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 blah. And a friend of ours, Matt, from the South Florida region, he, I don't know what kind of magic he had, but he must have picked up on it. And I don't know what he did in between. He must have talked to some people or whatever. But the next meeting I got on, it was different. They were directing the questions at me, and I got to, so it's been this, all these opportunities for growth. Service in Narcotics Anonymous has taught me how to be an adult, how to show up. I learned how to, and to carry that into other parts of my life. Okay, I was the PTA mom at my kid's school. What? They asked me that, and I was like, are you guys fucking sure? Because you guys taught me to show up and be of service. So that's what I did. And you guys taught me that wherever I'm of service is where I'm going to feel connected, and I'm going to feel ownership, and I'm going to feel love, and and so that's what I did. The job that I have now, I got it because I was serving on their board, because they asked me to serve. It wasn't a paid position or anything, but I went and I served on it, and I ended up with a job because of it, because of what you guys taught me. You guys taught me how to like Ezra mentioned now, I'm the facilitator at the region, and so I've had to learn how to when to hold my tongue and when to speak my truth and how to navigate with consensus-based decision making and all this. And I was able to carry this into my job, and this was a job where the past people who had been in my position before had really struggled. And I think I was able to make a really smooth transition because of what you guys taught me, it's been really, really amazing. And that job that I got, when they asked me to make a resume, thank God it's a job in treatment, because they understood when all my skills and all my things on my resume were literally service positions I'd done. I learned IT, I learned this, I learned that, all these things was from service. So, so I'm clean, I'm doing service work, I'm raising kids, I've got my husband. And I want to talk about manifestations for a second, for a while. So, we all know it. We come in when we find we can no longer go on either with or without drugs. And now it's a lot of times when I can't go on without drugs. I still cannot go on without you guys, because the drugs are just one little fraction of it. And now I'm dealing with all these other things. It's my disease in action. And what I've learned is a couple things that acting out always feels good in the beginning, right? So when I first got clean, when I got out of that treatment center, I had 6 months clean. And I met this guy. I was 22. And I met this guy, and he was terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. And you guys all warned me, and I was like, nah, I'm good. But so my thing was, I'd heard it said, and I know it doesn't say it anywhere in the literature, and somebody mentioned it about the waiting a year before you get with somebody. What is on day 366, all of a sudden you're magically capable of having a relationship? I love that shit. Somebody else just said that yesterday, so don't, But it was so true. So I thought, I've always been a pretty smart person. I like to think that maybe I absorb and learn things at maybe a faster rate than a lot of other people. So I think really 9 months, 8 or 9 months is probably close to what a year. I think I've absorbed. So I got in this relationship because acting out always feels good in the beginning, right? And it was a shit show. We were together a year. He was clean for 5 months of it, all this stuff. And I'm so grateful, because I think the only things that kept me clean were a positive resentment, because everybody said I was going to get high, and I was like, fuck you, watch this. Thank God for that. But the big thing really is my sponsor taught me that today in recovery, we do what we do out in front of God and everybody else. And that we be honest, and we let everybody in, and our secrets die in the light of day, and things that grow in the dark grow twisted, and all these different things, and she taught me this. So that's when I first got to see my disease in action without the use of drugs. And it was hugely eye-opening, and I'm grateful for it, because I got to see all the stuff in my head, and oh shit, it's not just the drugs, it's me. So I've struggled in different areas of my life. When my kids were young, my husband was working his ass off, making all right money. It should have been enough, but I was spending it faster than he could bring it in. And I remember going and buying, paying for diapers with change. Having the lights go out because I hadn't paid the electric bill. Just stupid shit. Here we are clean with kids, and I'm doing this stupid shit, I remember my sponsor, I called her because I was going into Publix. You guys have Publix up here? Grocery store? Okay, going to the grocery store, and there's my Polk County gang again. So I'm going to the grocery store, and like that was my dope hole, man, because they do these BOGOs, and like I would go in, and I would just like, and so this is what I learned is like, she'd say, Michelle, you've got to stop getting in the ring with your disease, because that's what like. I would confuse like willpower and surrender and all this. And so what I'd do is I would go in like ready to fight, you know, like, and I'm like, we're going to do this. We're going to get through this grocery store and we're not going to overspend and we're not going to do all this. And by like the first couple aisles, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm doing really well and I'm sticking to it and all that. And then like I start getting a little tired and oh, that's a really good BOGO. And oh, ooh, yeah, let me grab that and this and that. And then like I start faltering and I, you know, and then by like 3/4 of the way in, I'm full on disease mode, because that's the thing is I kept getting in the ring with my disease, trying to fight it, do this hand-to-hand combat with my disease. And she said, Michelle, why don't you try praying before you even go in? Surrender, don't even get in the ring. And I remember I did that, and I had my list, and I stuck to the list, and I did the whole thing, and I didn't act out. And I remember I got up to the register, and she, you know, beep, 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 everything through. And then it came time and I'd like swipe my card. And I didn't feel anything. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, where are the fireworks and shit? Like, I didn't act out, you guys. Like, why do I not feel like, and I realized I wasn't high. I was used to getting high when I swiped my card. And the absence of that, I confused. Like, I didn't recognize peace when it first came to me, because I was so used to the like manic high of spending money, you know? So I struggled with my weight. The only reason why I'm this size right now is because I paid money to get on that shot. I got on the needle, y'all. But like, I struggled with food. I struggled with, you know, learning to love myself. And I'd like to say, you know, that at some point I just was so recoveried up that I got to a place where I learned to love myself in my chubby little body, but I fucking didn't. That's the truth. Like, I didn't feel like me. I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't happy. Maybe I would have if I got there long enough. I don't know. I just paid the money. I hear about people talking about like being obsessed with going to the gym. And I'd be like, why couldn't I be one of those people? But what I've learned though is, like, so I remember my sponsor when I was really, really like in the weeds, struggling with like the spending money thing. I remember my sponsor sitting at meetings and talking about her issues with sugar. And she would talk about like crying into a pint of Haagen-Dazs because she didn't know how to stop. She was using against her will. And I'd sit there and be like, bitch, get a real fucking manifestation. Like, we're about to like get kicked out because I haven't paid the rent and you're crying about ice cream? Like, fucking get real. But what I realized later, when I was struggling, crying into my own pint of ice cream, not Haagen-Dazs, that ain't my jam, but I was crying over brownies, is it doesn't really matter what the manifestation is. At the end of the day, they all fucking hurt. And they harm others, and they harm ourselves and all that. And at the end of the day, too, it all comes back to the basics for me. Like, I kept thinking, like, if I just had the right budget, if I just did the right diet. Listen, I can tell you guys, I've done vegan, I've done vegetarian, I've done pescatarian, I've done Mediterranean, I've done keto. Somehow I was the only motherfucker that gained weight on keto. One of my sponsees was like, are you peeing on the little thing? Are you in ketosis? I was like, bitch, I'm peeing on like twice a day, yes. Like, I've done intermittent fasting, I've done this and that, I've done budgets, I've done envelope system, I've done this app, I've done that app, I've done that, all these different things, but it's the same as the fucking rules that I would make, that I'm only gonna spend the tip money in my pocket, but I'm not gonna go spend money on my card because that's my bill money, and I'm not gonna use on this day, and I'm not gonna use with those people, and I'm not, like, all these fucking things, all these rules that I try that I'm somehow gonna fix, manage, and control this disease, instead of just getting in the, not getting in the ring to begin with. And at the end of the day, it just comes back to feelings for me. So it's always back to the basics, and I hate it, because I like to think that at some point, like, I'm embarrassed to even say this out loud, but like, I have this feeling like I have recovered beyond the need of like the basics. At this point, my problems are so complicated that the basics just aren't gonna cut it anymore. I need something more. And the truth is it's not. It's the same solution. It's just that I need a deeper understanding. And that all these things, like budgets are great. Different dietary things, if they work for you, they're great. But the thing is like, that is like, for me, it's like putting paint on the walls or hanging curtains in a house that's built on a sandy foundation. Like, it's only gonna stand for so long until like the first little sign of trouble and everything falls. I have to have that foundation first. If I can build that foundation and I can start building that up, then I can start doing those other things, but I forget that. I wanna do it the other way around. So it's important for me. Like, my step work from 2017 isn't gonna keep me clean today. My step work from 2021 isn't gonna keep me clean today. It's my step work from today, from 2025, like not always today, because I am a slow ass step worker. I'm gonna tell you guys, it took me 10 years to get through the 12 steps. But I kept doing it. One of the things that it says in our literature is recovery is an uphill journey, right? And so like, you guys get this. In Florida, it's kind of hard because we don't have a whole lot of uphill, like geographically. Like, my friends will call me and be like, do you want to go for a hike? I'm like, girl, we live in Florida. There is no hiking, we just walking. But like, you guys know, so like, when you go for a hike and you're going uphill, like, what happens? Our fucking thighs burn, our calves burn, like, we feel it. We feel that burn. Like, if I'm not feeling something, I'm probably not doing it. So I had the kids, my husband, I was able to finally get some relief in some of my manifestations because I was finally able to I finally was willing to surrender and do some step work and get healthier and do this. We were able to finally save up enough money to buy our dream house that we had looked at for years, and we were finally able to buy it. And it even had a place that we were able to renovate for my mom, as a way to for me to be able to make amends to her. She took care of me through all my shit. And then after my stepdad died, and it was kind of he hadn't renewed his life insurance policy before that he got the cancer diagnosis. And it just was, literally she has nothing right now. She has nothing. So she was living, she was able to live with us, and I'm doing the PTA mom thing, and I'm finding my place in recovery. And so the most recent thing is here I am now, I'm 40 years old, and after 16 years with this man, I realized I'm not happy. And it's crazy because 16 years, and those of you guys that are in relationships and recovery know, he was in recovery, I'm in recovery, we're Nick and Michelle, it's some people had known us their whole clean time. We were always one with the other. And yeah, so I ignored it for a long time, this sort of feeling. And I tried to ignore it, and what I've been learning is lately in my recovery, it's like the universe has been presenting these ways for me to learn how to speak my truth, and to stand in it even when it's uncomfortable. So I'm going to back up a little bit. So that relationship that I was in when I first got clean with the crazy guy, I had met my soon-to-be ex-husband at the same time. And of course, I was attracted then to like the just batshit crazy guy. And my sponsor had said, we were outside an H&I commitment, we were getting ready to go, and she goes, you know who you should date? Nick. It's my soon-to-be ex. And I was like, I don't know. She goes, it's because he's not fucked up enough for you, isn't it? So after that crazy relationship, I took some time, I did some step work, I became willing to be more open-minded, and Nick and I had always remained friends through it, and and a relationship started. And what I'm realizing now, and I don't regret any of it. We had 16 years together. We raised, 2 kids who are fucking amazing. Like, we are amazing co-parents. We have done really great things. Like, I would not change any of it. He is an amazing man. He's got amazing recovery. He's a fantastic dad. But I just wasn't happy. And what I learned was sometimes I get really this idea of what I think is right in recovery. And it's because maybe it's what worked for me, so I think it should also work for you, and you should do it the same way I did it. And sometimes we have a tendency to railroad each other with that shit, of because I did it this way, you should too. And in early recovery, I had 2 years clean or something at that point. I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll date him. We'll do this, And I remember calling my sponsor 2 weeks into it, and I said, Grace, it doesn't feel right. I don't think it's right. And she goes, that's a good thing. That means you're doing something different, and you're not going to get what you always got. And I was like, okay. But it was hard. I had to go through this past year, this little moment of anger. And I realized I'm not really angry at Narcotics Anonymous, because the Narcotics Anonymous didn't tell me to do shit. It's just sometimes the people in our lives don't give us the room we need. And especially too with a newcomer, it's hard, because it's what the fuck do I know? I've only got a couple of years clean and you have more than me. And so, okay, I'll listen to you and I'll do it even though it doesn't. And I ignored what I felt it. I felt it deep down and I ignored it. And so this past year, I had to kind of reckon with that. And it was so hard. Sitting in front of this man who had done nothing wrong. There's shit. There's always shit that we do, both, But sitting in front of him and telling him that I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this with you anymore. And seeing the pain in his face and all that. But what I learned is, because you guys taught me this, is the spiritual principles are never in conflict, right? And so what I learned from that too is that they're not in conflict with each other, from each other either. If I do what's truly best for me, it's going to be good for everybody that's around me that's affected by it. And it's turned out that way too. Turns out he had some shit he's got to look at too, and he realized, and he's walking through, he's doing his own process, I'm doing mine. Thank God for recovery. It has been somewhat, it's been mostly calm, the separation thing, because we've been able to bring recovery into it. I've survived every emotion I've ever had. That's in the Living Clean. We survived every emotion we've ever had, and I have too. The thing is that I tend to think that things are going to feel a certain way And I tend to run from the things that I think are going to hurt me. And sometimes, unfortunately, I run directly into the arms of something that's actually going to harm me, you know? And I'll get to that in a second. But I'm going to say this, though, the importance. So when most of my recovery, I've been married. I've been in a long-term relationship. And so that's done a pretty good job. Like having a ring on your finger does a pretty good job at keeping most like men and stuff like at a distance, most, you know, but for the most part. But what I found out, so like I had women friends. I've always had women friends in my life and in my recovery. But it wasn't until like going through this stuff with the divorce that I realized how fucking important they are. Because when that ring came off, like a lot of my guy friends started acting differently. You know what I mean? Like, thank God for people like Ezra. Like, Ezra and one other guy friend I have are the only two who did not change the way they reacted to me. And it wasn't anything like, it was just little things I pick up on. And my women were there. They were solid. Like, I didn't have to worry. Even now with like my soon-to-be ex-husband, I still, even with him, I have to I always have to be on guard a little bit now. I didn't have to do that when I was in a relationship, and now I do. But with the women, I don't. And I'll say this too, it's like, if you're newer, or even if you've been here for a while and you don't have like your tribe, your people, like, and you look around and you see other people with their people, don't stress it. Like it took me, I'm literally at 18 years clean, and I feel like only in this past couple years have I really found like my women, my group, my little like, you know, click. But it's amazing. It's amazing finding that. There's a woman here. Okay, so we're at the banquet tonight, and this lady sits down next to me, her and her husband, and we're talking, and she mentions her name, and then I heard her say that they're from Colorado, and I was like, were you at the women's retreat earlier this year? She was like, I was. And I was like, what? Like, because me and my like women friends all went to that. I was the speaker there too, so poor thing. But like we all got to go together on this trip. It's like all that shit that like you dream. I dreamt of when I was young, having a group of people that love me and accept me and all that, and I found it. But it took me a long time to get there. So now to like some of the shit from, okay. So Ezra asked me this because, you know, he knows all what's going on in my life. And he was like, so how much are you going to share about the recent stuff? And I was like, oh, God. Okay, so the divorce, I mean, it's not officially happened yet, but, like, I'm living in my own place. He's got, you know, we're doing that. So he, like, my ex, he kind of, like, is having his own midlife crisis. He, like, bought himself a Maserati. Is dating some woman who like he can only speak to through Google Translate. I don't know. It's a whole thing. I'm trying really hard to be spiritual. I saw a picture of her posted on Facebook today, and I had a moment because I'd asked my mom, because my mom is met her. I was like, Mom, who's prettier? And she said, you are. And I was like, okay. But then I was like, that's my mom. She has to say that. But I saw a picture today, and I was like, my mom was right. I shouldn't. I feel kind of bad, but, like, I'm just going to be honest, okay? Like, I'm not that spiritual yet, okay? So he got a Maserati and got it, you know, and all this. And I fucking decided to date a newcomer. Thank you for that. Thank you for... Listen, I'm not fucking proud of it. And the thing is, too, and this is what I'm learning, is like all the judgment that I heaped on other people who did this, I heap on myself too, because I know it. And I told myself all the things, Like all these fucking lies to justify it. Not lies. I mean, I justified it. Well, it's not really his first go in recovery. He's been doing this for a long time. So he's not really a newcomer. Listen, I left my marriage because I wanted more passion in life. And that passion walked in this tall, tattooed, brooding fucking newcomer. It's a little more passion than I need right now. What I learned is like with newcomers, man, everything fucking looks okay when everything's going okay. As soon as something doesn't, it's a shit show, and I'm in the middle of it right now. Literally in the middle of it. I am playing God, I am playing sponsor, and I'm playing whatever and I fucking suck at all of them. It is hard and it's exhausting. So I'm trying to do what I'm doing out in front of God and everybody else. I just fucking told all you guys. Acting out always feels good in the beginning, right? And I keep thinking, and this is where I tend to end up now a lot of times, is I feel like sometimes I feel like I should be able to recovery away the feelings. I don't want to feel the feelings, so I feel like if I just talk to my sponsor enough and I talk to my support group enough and I process it enough and I journal enough and all that, I'm going to be able to transcend fucking feeling the feelings about it. And I'm just going to recover just totally, And it's like this, the thing that I thought about a lot was, so I'm from Florida, and out at the beach, especially on the Atlantic side where the waves get pretty big, and you're standing out there in the water, and if you've had this experience, you see this giant fucking wave coming, and I can see this wave coming, and I know that if I stand there and I try and fight it, it is going to just knock me down. It's going to toss me and turn me. I'm going to be upside down, and it's just going to trash my world. And I forget, though, that those of you guys that are familiar with this, if you just dive into it, it just washes over you, and you come up the other side. And I forget that, though. I want to stand there and do that hand-to-hand combat and fight it and try and do everything I can to duck and dodge the feelings instead of just being there for them. So, and now, too, I'll do this shit. I find really inventive ways to run from my feelings now that look cloaked in recovery. I'll be in the car and I'll be some feelings will kind of start to up, and I'll be I'm gonna call my support group. I'm gonna call them, and I'll call and call and call, and I'll talk and talk and talk and talk all the way till I get home, so that I could avoid feeling those feelings the entire fucking ride. Where sometimes I just need to sit quietly with myself, Love and gratitude in action. Today it's my step work, my sponsor, my friends, my commitments. I don't know. This is a wild ass fucking journey. I kind of thought when I a few years ago, I sort of made it, here's where we're chilling. We got this house and the kids and the husband and the little yappy dog, and this is life, we're good. And then all of a sudden, it's oh no, everything's totally fucking different, and we're, and it's wonderful. It's this amazing ride, and I'm here for it, and I'm grateful for Narcotics Anonymous, because I know as long as I stay clean and I stay connected to you guys, we're gonna make it through this. Hopefully with as little damage as possible. For a long time, I compared my life, and I know that's been talked about a lot this weekend too, you know, comparing where I'm at in my life, like, I'd go on Facebook, man. I'm so glad I got rid of that shit. Like, I mean, I have it, but I don't go on it much anymore because I learned I feel terrible after it. There's never a time I'm on social media for like an extended period of time and I go, man, I'm so grateful I just spent 2 hours on that shit. Never. So I'd go on Facebook and I'd look at people that like I went to high school with or whatever. I'd see where they're at in their lives, and like I felt so much farther behind than everybody else. I felt like I didn't have the things that they have, and I don't, you know, and so now I work in treatment, and the residents will come in and they have the same things where they're feeling less than. I had one resident who didn't want to go to a function because there were old high school buddies there, and they didn't want to feel less than. And I told him, I was like, yeah, they have the houses, they have the cars, they have probably a substantial retirement savings and blah, 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 you know, that a lot of us don't have. But can they save lives the way we can? You know, that's our superpower. We stay here and we carry the message and we save lives. So I may not have a lot of that stuff, the outside stuff. And right now, honestly, I feel like I'm starting life all over again. I'm walking out of this relationship with not much. I took our really nice dishes. But it's okay. You guys have taught me that it's okay. We just show up and we do the work, and life is amazing, and it will continue to be amazing. And I have all the faith that I'll be okay. So I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be part of Narcotics Anonymous. I'm grateful we get to go on this journey together. And thank you for letting me share.